time I think of heartache, nothing comes to mind. Ever since you gave me love, I haven't seen a bad thing in a while. All the flowers and the bees got nothing on you. That's true. We're just two lovebirds singing in the same tune. Never thought that I would feel the type of love that I had with you. You took the pain from my heart and told me that we'd see it through. All the stars in the world could outshine us never. Because it's you and me forever. People search their whole lives for love like ours. We're meant to be forever. You're a light in the dark, like the moon at night. There isn't a day I don't notice your compassion. Ooh, you're the reason through it all. I can never let go. Never thought that I would feel the type of love that I had with you. You took the pain from my heart and told me that we'd see it through. All the stars in the world could outshine us never. Because it's you and me forever.
Okay, hi everybody. Welcome to Everyday People, the Utah Pacifica chapter. I am Crystal Taufalele, and today we have a special co-host.
I'm Maafu Tuitonga. I'm stepping in for Lynn. Hope Lynn is going to feel better for the next one. Sorry, I'm never going to take Lynn's place. But I'm here to sit in to help out Crystal with today's show. So.
Yes, and we have a special guest as well. I'll let her introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Teuila Aagard. I am the instructor.
Oh, your mic, sorry.
Oh. Hi, I'm Teuila Aagard. Good to be here.
Thank you. Okay, sorry, I might be a little bit nervous today because I have to take the wheel, so we're going to let Jesus take the wheel today. But first, we're going to go over some events. We're just going to discuss what's going on, and then we will get into our conversation with Teuila, who is a Tongan language instructor at the U of U. We're so excited. So this weekend actually today is the AAPI Day on the Hill at 2:30. So at the Utah Capitol Rotunda, if you want to go up there. And then we also have tomorrow. Richie V is having a listening party at the One Love Kava Lounge in West Jordan. And that's at 9 p.m. There's a $10 entry fee. Also coming up is Manny's Oscar Watch Party on Sunday. So Sunday there's a watch party. Doors open at 2 and the actual show starts at 5. And then we have the National Tongan American Society and their 30th anniversary gala, which is coming up on Friday, March 21st. Are you guys going to that?
That sounds fun.
I didn't know anything about it. I was going through all of the things and I saw their notice. And then also I did want to promote my Get Rooted Plant and Sip, which is at the Kaipo Kava Lounge on March 22nd. And you can get your tickets on theplanterpopup.com. So those are the events that I have. Did you guys have anything going on this week that you wanted to announce?
Today, West High girls basketball.
Ooh, nice.
Playing for the state championship, 5A against Bountiful. So, if you, even if you don't watch basketball, go support them. Please go support them. It's been a while since core of Pacific Island women who play sports have been on the state stage to play for a championship. A while back, Highland had an all poly team that was probably, and you know what, the sad part of it is the article in the newspaper, even though they won state championship, was about this big. And so the thing is, I'm just saying, if you support women's sports and you support Pacific Island women playing sports, this is it's a historic thing for Pacific Islander girls at West High. And I know a lot of the coaches over there, so please, if you have the opportunity to go up to the Huntsman and watch them play for state championship. So
Awesome. Good luck, girls. And that's at the Huntsman Center?
yeah.
Oh, awesome. And Teuila, did you have anything?
Yes, I do. I have an event next Tuesday. I have an event next Tuesday. We're going to do our Lau Mau. That's poetry reading over at the Sunday E. Anderson Senior Center at 10 a.m. next Tuesday. So if you have time, come through and listen to our students present poems, do presentations on different parts of Tongan culture, and hopefully Baloveate.
That's so awesome. Thank you. Okay, so while we're going over that, let's go ahead and have Teuila just actually give an introduction of your name and your family name, so everyone knows where your line is, and then what you do at the U.
Okay, thanks, Crystal. My name is Teuila. I am from the Tuaone family, and we are a small family from Whahewa, Tonga. I teach Tongan language over at the University of Utah under the Department of World Languages and Culture. And the thing about the language, Tongan language, this is the first time that Tongan is ever offered as part of the curriculum, meaning that it could qualify for the 2-year language requirement in order to get a bachelor's degree. So if you have any students, or if you are a student, consider Tongan language as for your language requirement.
And is this also offered to people that are not students?
That's a good question. I've had people ask if it's offered for non-students, and yes, there are 2 seats for every course that are offered for continuing education, and that's the general community. However, the program is geared and focused on meeting the language requirement for the BA degree. So it's mainly just for students and just 2 seats available for non-students.
Well, that's so, awesome that you have that available. Are there any resources outside of that you know of that people can, if they were wanting to take something longer and they can't get those 2 seats?
There are a lot of courses that are offered online. I know one of my students and has a lot more information about that, I feel. They'll introduce themselves here just a little bit later, but I am not really aware of a lot of other courses or anything available, in the sense they're a comprehensive course that...
I know Slick used to have some classes for the community, but I don't know what happened. It's just like...
Yeah.
Like, I guess it's availability on an instructor. I think that's the only thing. It's like we don't have enough instructors that want to teach Tongan language or Samoan language. It's like now they're moving it to like a community, a community-based thing, other than just like. But Slick used to have an ongoing for spring and fall. They used to have a course there, but I don't know what happened. So.
Yeah, and I've heard of a similar course too at the U, where it was taught just as a language course or speaking course, and not part of the curriculum. But I was invited to be the first instructor to offer it as part of the curriculum. So for that, I'm really grateful for, because when I was going there many moons ago, that wasn't offered. So I ended up doing a BS so that I could use math as part of my curriculum. But now that it's available, I am really hoping that a lot more of our heritage students join us for the course, and also to promote and maintain our language and our culture.
That's awesome. So what can students expect to learn in a course like this, other than just language? Or you're not just learning just the Tongan language. It sounds like you're getting more in depth with that as well.
Yeah, so part of my curriculum is that I try to incorporate culture as well. When I was briefed on the successes and the reasons that language programs aren't continuing, part of it is because it was just pure language. So what I understood from that is that I needed to incorporate culture as well. And I was able to get 5 advisors. One of them is right here.
That's so awesome.
Because one of my weaknesses is the actual culture. So I knew that was one of my weaknesses. So I invited advisors that were very present in the Tongan community in what they do. So I found them, I invited them and asked them to join me in helping teaching the cultural part, because I found it so interesting that students, if they understand the cultural piece, they are more, it's easier for them to understand the language piece.
That is super interesting. So Maafu's an advisor. Yeah. What do you advise on when you come to it?
So she designates for each of us to do like a piece on. So like last year I did on Ta'avala. I did a presentation on Ta'avala and Kiekie, how they're worn, what, certain ones, like what you would wear for certain events, and like how different textures and materials, and like how here in the diaspora, like how we live here, like people are actually making, because fao is hard to come by living in Utah. So if you ever go to funerals, there's like, I mean, I know I'm there for the funeral, but I'm there to see people's ta'avala, because like how people are just so like creative and intricate, and like, because now they're using like curling ribbon to knit. Like if you know how to knit, like I'm trying to learn how to knit so I can just make my own, so I can just make a whole outfit. Just kidding. But yeah, so like I was supposed to do a class, but I was sick. But we're supposed to do a class on like on tapa and ngatu and fala, and so I sent her a video. But like I'm always so down to helping her class, because sitting in the class, I actually learn a bunch of stuff too. Like I learn like things, because I should take one of those seats, because my Tongan, I would never win a Miss Hilala if I like. I would never. But like the class is so interesting. The class is awesome, and I wish more. Like her class is very diverse. I'm looking over there and I'm thinking if these are Hafkasi girls, but like they're actually Palangi girls in the class that are taking and the thing is, like it's like my cousin's in that class, and he came late, and I told his mom that he came late. But yeah, it's very diverse. It's like, as far as language and hearing, just students from, because there's even students that are in there that are either part Tongan that are trying to learn the culture, and I think it's a great thing for them, because the further you move away from the islands, and I think the other thing too is we take it for granted. Like Tongan people take our Tongan language for granted, because and that's coming even from me, because like I wish I knew how to converse a little bit more, because when old people start talking to me, like I will just pretend I have to run into the kitchen and grab them something, because like I can say hello and goodbye.
Yes. And there's a lot of heritage learners in my course that actually, there's a lot of heritage learners in my course that can understand the Tongan language, but that's the disconnect. They understand, but they don't speak. Yeah. So I try to focus more on the speech part of it, so that they have opportunities to practice, even if we're practicing the same thing over and over again, but by slowly adding more and more information to their introductions, I think they're more relaxed, they're more fluid with their language. But I think that's what I found as well, is that those of us here that grew up in the States, we understand the language, but we don't have more opportunities to actually speak it, or should I say forced to speak it. So I think if we are in a space where we can actually communicate and be forced to speak the language, it's going to be able to be transmitted to the next generation. Because even I, as a first generation immigrant here to America, if I didn't have this opportunity, I think I would have lost it too. And unfortunately, a lot of us that are in my situation are not passing the language back to the next generation, and there's a disconnect we need to resolve right there.
Do you, so like you mentioned about being a first generation, because I am as well. My mom came from Tonga, and they had me here, and reasons for not being able to speak the language is because they were trying to assimilate to a lot of American culture. Like they were trying to be Pa'alangi, to be able to be with the Pa'alangi people, understand. We had to slowly graduate from sitting on the floor to getting furniture, and then one of the reasons why we didn't speak Tongan in our home, well, we spoke it growing up, when I was younger, but once we entered elementary school, there was this decree, in the land. So if you spoke Tongan in the home, and if you said yes that you spoke Tongan in the home, they shuffled everybody into an ESL class.
Right, I remember that actually.
And so the thing was, because my mom was an English major, and she was an English teacher as well, and she was like, I'm not gonna come to America, teach you our culture and do everything that, and then teach you English for you to have to go to learn English in this other special class, So we stopped speaking Tongan normally in the home. It was just only when we would say things to my grandparents because they only spoke Tongan, and then, but from then on, and so I think the more and more the older we got, we just kind of lost the ability to be able to speak, like you said, and being forced to speak. So you grew up here in Utah. How about in your home? Did your siblings, you guys all spoke Tongan with one another?
Yeah, so I'm going to throw my dad out under the bus here. But when we first moved here, I was really young. I was 7 years old. When we first moved here to Utah, he stopped us from speaking Tongan in the house. He wanted us to assimilate better or quicker. He wanted us to learn the American way of life. The only thing is, he never told us that we could speak English again. Of course, we learned how to assimilate much quicker by speaking English both outside and inside the home. But I think the disadvantage there was that we psychologically, maybe mentally, accepted that we couldn't speak. We couldn't. That was more poo-pooed, more looked down on if we were able to speak, if we could speak our own language, even in public. And I was raised in the Salt Lake County school system. Mm-hmm. So there were never opportunities where we could express ourselves verbally or articulate in our own native language. It was just looked down upon. It was frowned upon, right?
Which is funny.
Yeah, so there were no friends of ours that we could communicate in, or that we could communicate with in Tongan. So the opportunities weren't there, the necessity wasn't there. Right. We needed to do everything in English.
Yeah, because you're here for the American dream, so you should learn English for it.
Yeah, and then there was also that unverbalized, the unsaid mood that you're in America, speak American. Mm-hmm. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. No, and like you said about the ESL thing, my family, my parents, first generation as well, they moved here. So we were actually the first generation born here. My brother we don't speak Tongan. like, again, that was with my parents trying to teach us English because my oldest brother only spoke Tongan. He was, my grandparents' first grandchild. They only spoke to him in Tongan. He spoke Tongan, but when he started school, it was hard for him. And they had to teach him English. And after that, my parents were like, no, our kids are going to speak English. They need to know how to go to school. They need to know how to speak and do that. And so then he lost that language. Even though that was his first language, he lost speaking Tongan. Yes. And the rest of my siblings, we all only speak English. And my youngest brother, he was put in ESL because he's in a Tongan home, and none of us speak Tongan. So, he always thought that was funny, and we thought it was funny too. And I see now how my parents thought that that was a better thing for us, and how young they were to have thought that they were like making that better for us. But now, as an adult, I'm always like, people are looking at me funny because I don't speak the language, and I'm like, I didn't hear the language wasn't spoken to me, even though my grandma only speaks Tongan. But it wasn't spoken to me for, I can pick up things if you're yelling at me because that's when they spoke Tongan to me. But other than that, you know what I mean? But as an adult now, I do wish I knew more. My husband speaks Tongan, so I always encourage him to speak to me so I can pick things up and try to say things. But I don't speak it because I feel like you will hear me and then be like, oh.
I know, like it's
you're going to judge me real quick.
When you listen to your English speaking voice, when you speak when you speak American English and your voice, and then you try to speak Tongan, like I find that like if I start speaking Tongan to my own people, to our own people, like my voice changes. Like it's either I'm going to be a gossiping woman, or I'm gonna be a yate worker man. Like I don't know which one I'm gonna pick.
The only one you can mimic is.
Because the thing is, it's because when I hear it, because when it's being said back to me, like I hear it a certain way. So when I speak it, when I say malo, when I just say malolele, it sounds so white. Like it sounds so American. Like I'm not even gonna get deported because I said malolele in my regular.
Like, no.
But then if I say like a man, like if I say like I mix cement and whatever like that, it's like I say malolele, like it was like, oh my gosh, like yes,
I mix cement.
And that's the thing I don't understand. It's like because like when I hear certain ways of people speaking in Tongan, like I'm like when I hear myself speaking Tongan, it doesn't sound that way. So I feel like I'm saying it wrong, So I feel like I think the intimidation of that for like a lot of people growing up in the States, like trying to speak speak Tongan and have conversation in Tongan, it's like so hard for them because it doesn't sound like what is said to them, So like half the time I have to like go between, am I gonna speak in like because if I speak in like a Tongan like gossiping church lady, oh my gosh, my Tongan can just roll off my tongue. No. But if I then if I like try to speak, and a lot of times my Tongan, if I'm drunk, I don't drink. But if I'm kava drunk, I can speak Tongan like pretty like
the roots really come out.
All of a sudden, my hands, my feet callousing. I'm like having.
They start scratching.
Yeah, I can but when I start thinking about it, like speaking in Tongan, like so that's why I love being in the class because I love the little lessons that you had in your class and everything.
Thank you.
No, I did. I love the lessons. I love the songs. They have a song, to kind of, and to me, like I was like, I'm gonna go on YouTube and look for this song, whatever. But I mean, it's like it is very much part of our culture. I think a lot of people we're still wagering what parts of our culture do we want to be. Like, I mean, there's a lot of kids that that I coach volleyball, and all of them are doing this all day. But if I asked them the very basic thing about this all day, they couldn't tell me. They couldn't ever, and yeah. So anyhow, like, but just like the language part of it, I love that you're. But before we even like talk more about this language thing that we're whatever, like, you introduced yourself, but you never really told us about your family life and where you live. Because I mean, it's just like all of a sudden you're just this and that's it.
Oh,
like you don't even have to come from a family. You just
you didn't get the
You
hint there.
only teach.
I only teach. That's all my life.
Okay, so we're gonna go on break. We're gonna come on back. We're gonna get to know Teuila a little bit more. Like I have to know because I come to your classroom and all I know is you as this professor, teacher, and I don't know much about you. So when we come on back, we're gonna get to know Teuila a little bit more, and tell me when I can be like, we'll be right back.
And we'll
Because
be right back.
this is Lindsay. Sorry, like
He's so good. He's a natural.
Yeah, so yeah.
We'll be back, guys.
Every time I ask you, brown eyes show your side there. I hope every hair mountain bear. Girl, I really love you. For me, I'm not. Your pretty face and your kata is really bacchanal. Very special. And I won't care for you. There's another like you. Pretty mama, please smile for me. Pretty mama, come dance with me. Pretty mama, please smile for me. Pretty mama, you're the one for me. Yeah. You're the one for me. Yeah. Every time I ask you, with the brown eyes show your side there. I hope that the hair mountain clear.
Welcome back to Everyday People, the Utah Pacifica chapter. We are continuing our conversation with Teuila Aagard. We're coming back to get more about your life. But before we do that, we do want Maafu to get up and model his wonderful Tongan attire for
It's all right.
us.
It's all right, guys. Just this old little thing. Oh. Oh.
There we go. Look how beautiful. Very on on topic for today. Love it. Thank you, Maafu, for
welcome.
dressing up for our topic
I mean,
today.
I
love
had
it.
to try to do I did some research because, you know, like this was like last minute. And so like having knowing that it was Teuila that was coming on board, like when I'm in
all out
her
for it.
class, this is how I dress up for her class
love
for
it.
the students, just to like be able to like, one, because it's a cultural class,
Mm-hmm.
two, it's like it's my culture and it's my representation of me. And I think the first time, well, she had approached me and we had talked, and she says, I see you everywhere and you're always wearing your stuff. And so like I was like, and I really didn't realize that, but like I was explaining to her, like when I'm at graduations, you know, as a way to respect and show my my appreciation, and just like I'm there for like a special event, for a special occasion for these girls, my volleyball girls. It's a momentous occasion for them, so I dress up like this in their honor, you know. So like
Yes.
when people are seeing me like, why are you not wearing? I'm like, you know, I want to express to my girls, because it's something that I teach my volleyball girls. Culture is so important. It's very integral to who you are as a person. So for me to preach all of this stuff and then show up and I'm like not
Never
look, you know,
showing that.
And so for me, like, and I didn't realize that people were like paying attention, and like when she brought it to me, she was like, I saw you. I just would like see you at all these things. And so yeah, like that's how I got she had asked me about being part of the
But that's how you do it. You really just got to be yourself and represent yourself, and
Yeah.
people will notice you.
So yeah, so we're back, and we are sitting here with Teuila, and we're wanting to know a little bit more about her. Like you already got the first part of what she does up at the University of Utah. We'll get more into that because it's a very important work. But we want to know more about you, like where you're from, how many siblings you have, what you like to do in this life, and
Yes.
what else
All
you
the
like to do
things
other
that
than
we
being a
like.
teacher. You know, like
Okay.
and a professor. Yeah.
Thank you so much. So first thing, I am full Tongan. Both my parents are Tongan. And my father, usually I have my students, especially if they're Tongan, explain who their parents are and their connection back to Tonga as far as island or family name, etc. And I have them do this because we as Tongans like to make connections between families. And I'm not sure if we do that because so we don't marry cousins or
Both. Make a connection so you don't make a
so
connection.
that you don't make a connection. I like that. So my parents, my father is Tuitonga Tuaone from Fahefa, and my mother is Ilaisane Mesui from Kolonga. And my paternal grandfather is from Fahefa, and that's Kuma Tuaone, or E Palahame Hala Kumahia Tuaone. He went by Kuma. And my mother is Lilevai Lele from, I forgot the name of the island. Like I said, culturally, I needed the support of the community, and that's why one of the reasons why I reached out to other members of the community, like Maafu here. And my mother's side of the family are from Kolonga, and I'm not sure, I forgot the name of the island again, from where my maternal grandmother or grandfather is from. So I apologize, I'll look it up during the break and then come back with more information. So I grew up here in Utah. Like I said, I was raised in the Salt Lake County school system. And I married Mitch Aagard. We have 7 kids together. Mm-hmm. We have 5 boys and 2 girls. And I attended Salt Lake Community College, where I did the beginning of my undergrad program. I got 2 degrees there. Then I moved over to the University of Utah, where I received my bachelor's degree. And then I made 3 attempts at a master's degree. The first attempt, I was studying to be a counselor, and this was at GCU in Arizona. And about 3 semesters in, I received an email from the department saying that the state of Utah will not license me with a graduate degree from there. So I stepped away from there, and I thought, okay, what else do I want to do? And I took interest in design because my father was an architect. He was an architect here in Utah. So
Tongan architect here in Utah?
Yes.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. So before the current the current build over at the Salt Lake Airport, he was involved with the previous design of the airport. But then he did a lot of Mormon churches and Smith's buildings, and just there was a lot of projects he was involved in within the valley back then.
When did he come out here that he's been an architect?
Oh, yeah. So
that?
I think he came in the 60s. I actually don't know.
Oh, well, that's amazing.
I think he came in the 60s, and he was just on vacation because he was supposed to go back and be the main architect for building in Tonga. But while he was here on vacation, changed his mind and stayed. Oh. And then slowly brought everyone else here. So.
Wow, that's so cool. I didn't know there was a Tongan architect.
So were you guys born in Tonga, or you guys were born here?
Yeah, so I was born in Tonga. The majority of my siblings, I have 5 siblings. I have 4 sisters, and then me, and then my brother. So 5 of us were born in Tonga, and then my youngest sister was born here, Stacy. But when my father and my mother were here, we were, well, you know, the Tongan Pusiaki, the Tongan adoption, not officially, but yeah, so we were Pusiaki'd by my aunt Mele and Vili and my uncle Vili back in Tonga. So that's where we stayed until I was 7, I think is when we left. And then we stayed in Samoa, and then we came here. Oh, yeah. Nice. So that was our journey here. And let's see, where was I? Kids? Yeah, kids.
So you have 7 kids?
Oh, I have 7 kids.
So
yes.
do they all speak the Tongan language?
No.
Okay, so is that
No.
something that you are working with? I mean, that you are teaching it, that you are also trying to
That
actively teach them?
No, actually, they're all adults, so they're all
Yeah.
out living their best lives. I think the best time that I should have taught the language while they were little, and I should have stuck to it. But I tried a little bit. My youngest daughter, however, understands a lot of the language, is because she spent a lot of time with my sisters and grew up with my sister's kids. And my sister's kids were some of your students, some of your in your volleyball teams and stuff. So they spent a lot of time, or she spent a lot of time with them. So she's the one that understands the culture and the language the most. And she was also who I sent out, you know how in the Tongan culture, so somebody has to be represent at events and stuff like that. She would always be the one I'd send off, you know, to reunions in Maui or Hawaii or wherever. She's the one I'd send. So she's very familiar with the culture.
Oh, that's good.
And the language. So, but all my children are adults and out living their best lives, I guess. And so if I had the opportunity, absolutely 100%, I would teach the language.
Yeah.
I would teach the language in a heartbeat. Mainly because what I'm finding now is that the Pacific languages are on their way to the extinct list. There's not enough people communicating it. Hawaiian's already there.
Yeah.
Hawaiian language. There's not enough people speaking
You know,
it.
they're trying to revive a lot of those languages that are younger than the Tongan language. Like, I think with here in America, like I said, we take it for granted because, you know, we have Tonga that's over there that people can go back to the islands. But I think like the stewardship and the responsibility of being able to like teach like even just basic culture like stuff, you know, like protocols, like, you know, like I remember telling some of my Samoan girls, like when we went to go do a CE or a hala for one of our volleyball girls, one of her father had passed away, and we get there and they're all wearing their spandex. I was like, no, when we go to this stuff, we have to be, you know, you don't have to be dressed in like church clothes, but you have to wear a ie. We have to, you know, teaching like little things like that, like even teaching like, even like when I told them like, do you guys do fe'aus? And they're like, what's that? Like, and I'm like, okay, I can tell now why your work ethic on the court looks the way that it is, because you don't do certain things like, you know, at home. And I feel like, you know, like fe'aus or chores, it's a teacher in itself on the rest of your life, on, you know, like urgency and responsibility and how to like see things like around you and take notice and pay attention, you know, whatever. And so like, I mean, and I get for like, because my mom like was like, when we get to a certain point where she has no patience because either we're choosing not to think about the culture or speak in the language, she's like, I should have just sent you guys to Tonga. I wanted to go to Tonga. I wanted to go to Tonga so bad because I wanted to, one, learn the culture, but I wanted a break from another island because we grew up in Hawaii and I just wanted to go somewhere else. But now that, you know, like being a participant in your Tongan language class, like it's made me like really like think and dig deep in like, what is it that I know of my culture? Like, what is it that I really know about my culture? Because, you know, like, you know, there's that argument of like, what makes you Tongan? Yeah, and is it the culture, or like you know how to make the food, or you know how to speak? Like, do you know how to dance? Like, it's all these things, and like, you know, I know because I am Tongan. Like, I look at my feet and I look at my nose, and I know that I am Tongan. I know that I'm Tongan,
Look
but
at me, you know I'm
there's now this like matrix for people to like grade you on how much Samoan you are and how much Tongan you are, but like so like. Growing up in the States, like so, when you guys were no longer permitted to speak Tongan in the home, like did you guys, at what point did you feel like it was important to you know learn all of that again, like as you got? Because for me, like it's living in Utah. I grew up in Hawaii around Tongan language and culture, but living here in Utah, like I feel like I feel like I'm doing it because I'm defending and I'm trying to perpetuate my culture. And I made the decision as soon as probably like in 2010 is when I was like, oh, like
I haven't really been participating or practicing my culture. So like now I'm gonna do little things like, show up to events in my Tongan outfit or.
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I am so embarrassed to admit that even though I was part of the Tongan culture, I look Tongan, I understood Tongan, and I speak Tongan, I didn't really see myself as part of the culture. I was so far removed from the culture. And I'm jealous of people that were raised in Hawaii. They were at least exposed to it on a daily, right? But here, everything around us was Palangi culture. Okay, if you were to show the remote little, even the slightest amount of identity that you identified with being Tongan, you would, I don't know, maybe I'm just saying this, but I felt like I was being suppressed, that my identity would be suppressed. So I think growing up here, we learned to suppress our identity.
To kind of blend in.
Yeah, to blend in. But to your question, is like, when did I finally feel it was important? To be quite honest, it was not until I started teaching the Tongan language class. And I started learning about the culture, and I started learning about the grammar, and I'm obsessed now.
That's
I am so obsessed. Our Tongan language is so complex, and there's so much of the grammar that we don't understand yet. We haven't agreed upon yet on where it stands or where it belongs. And that is what my obsession right now is, to create those charts that identifies, okay, we can stress this part of the word, but here's an exception to that rule. And, so that's kind of like where my work is right now. And yes, I'm slightly obsessed with building a stronger foundation for how we can learn the Tongan language and how we can consistently learn it in the education community. And not just everybody taking their whatever they understand and teaching whatever it is in their own way. There needs to be some agreement among us teachers to how we're going to communicate this to the next generation. And then I had a thought that I was going to explain about that, but maybe it'll come back to me. But
okay.
Yeah, it's not until now that I want to learn everything about the grammar, make something, or build actually a grammar textbook that would make it easier for heritage learners, but also new learners of the Tongan language.
That'd be amazing. And then also put it out to people that are not in the class. But we're going to go ahead and take a quick break here. And then when we come back, we're going to go ahead and bring on your student as well. So then we can talk about that student learning also. So stay tuned. All right, Gary, you ready?
There's been a lot of talk. There's been a lot of broken-hearted people. There's been a lot of walking by. Oh, don't say hi, we now even. This ain't about the paper. Ain't about that simple thing they call love. And I've been through nature, but never looked over anybody. I'm a pacer. I think they ready for a different kind of flavor. Oh, 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 my, oh, 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 my. I know they feel me when I bring this kind of flavor. Oh, 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 my, oh, 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 my. There's been a lot of hoping, been a lot of broken doors that's been open. Now I really need to focus and bring the hottest side to the pot and stay loaded. It's funny how the green can change a man, and the man can lose a friend and don't cry. I think they
everybody. We are the Everyday People Utah Pacifica Chapter podcast with my wonderful guest host.
Maafu, hi everyone, welcome back.
And our guest, Teuila, and we also have one of her students from the U of U Tongan class. And if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself and then also your family ties so we can connect all your relatives.
My name is Gary Hansen. I am Hafakasi. My dad is Arnold Hansen. He's from New Zealand. His mom was from Ha'apai, Tonga. And her mom was from Kolofo'o in Tongatapu. My mom is Christine Petty Brown. She's actually the police chief over at Mill Creek at the moment.
Nice.
I live in Taylorsville. I grew up in Taylorsville. I moved around the country for a little while and then came back to Taylorsville in 2014.
Awesome. So what made you want to sign up or enroll in the class?
So I always have enjoyed learning languages. It's just sort of a hobby I've tugged along since learning Spanish in junior high and that kind of thing. But I never knew Tongan. Like my dad and my grandma both spoke Tongan, but rarely to me. I'd pick up conversations, they'd chat, and ikai, koiha, and I was like, that's all I ever picked up. And then, so I looked for resources, tried to find stuff, but there's just not much around. Like I saw the SLIC class pop up once when I was looking to take classes, but I wasn't able to take it. And so I kind of had another little renaissance of looking into my Polynesian roots and stuff last year, and that's when I saw Maafu posted a thing on Instagram about Teuila's class, and I saw that there was a continuing ed component to it, and I was like, okay, I'm taking that.
That's awesome. So how has it been for you taking the class? Has there been any challenges that you had faced, that you didn't expect once you were in it?
Yeah, it's a tough language. So, we get a lot of exposure to the Romance languages like Spanish and French and German and all of the, German's not Romance, but whatever.
I don't know.
But Tongan is just such a different paradigm. The structure of it is just so entirely different. And so you really, really, as a native English speaker, have to sort of turn off everything you kind of think about in terms of how you conceptualize your world.
Yeah.
And really just submit yourself to this different way of thinking and talking. It's really striking because the last language I was studying before Tongan was German, and German is very exact. Everything is very precise. They're very consistent about their grammar, and Tongan is, it's very specific about different things. It's very specific about who you're talking to, your status connected to who you're talking to, how many people you're talking to, what kind of feelings you want the people around you to feel. It's a very, is kind of a weird term, Gaussian. You're trying to give an environment, a vibe to what you're talking about. And it's a very different way of approaching language. And so that's been the biggest struggle for me, is trying to break from my usual ways of thinking and thinking in Tongan, because you never want to be translating from English to Tongan. You want to be thinking and speaking directly in Tongan for the best results, in my experience anyway.
That's awesome. Teuila, has there been anything that you find is harder for students? I mean, as you're teaching, do you find that there's been something that has been harder for students and for you to teach it? I mean, I know that's why you got a lot of advisors and resources, but
Yeah. So I like to help students remember that all the sounds that we make in the Tongan language is made in the English language. So there's no transition, or there's not a big stretch that they have to make in order to make the sounds of the Tongan language. One of the things that we do in the Tongan language that is a struggle for students is just what he was explaining. Break your ideas or your mindset from trying to translate Tongan into English. It's a whole different thing. Like when you're trying to tell somebody it's a whole different mindset, and trying to translate from one language to the other is always difficult. But I'll sit and I'll watch students, the first few classes, and I watch them try to make that conversion or that translation. And then finally I can see when they finally break and give up. That's when I can do my or do my lessons, and that's when my lessons become more effective, is when they give up trying to translate, because I can't for the life of me convince them that you can't translate it directly. You have to break away
There's
and
like no literal.
there's no literal translation. You just have to think of it in the Tongan space, or
Because there's like a certain like poetry in like the Tongan language that like bridges the gap between words, you know, like. Because there's like a lot of things like when when you're who you're talking to, how you're talking to that person, like I struggled with like oku, kohoku, and koeeku. You know, like that. Like how I would say, certain things like those things. I'm just like, you know what? Like, this is where when I'm speaking to, like, why I overthink it, and then when I'm trying to translate it in English, that's when my brain is like, I need to leave the room and pretend I'm gonna get water for all the old people, like whatever. But yeah, it's like, but as complex as the Tongan language is, like, but it's such a beautiful language, like. Because the other thing too is like, so like I don't know if you ever heard Niuean language, it's very much like Tongan language. They add in a couple of things. Like my friend's aunt came into town. Her brother lives in West Valley, so she's asking him for the directions. This is, mind you, the advancements in in GPS.
Yeah.
So as she's asking him where to turn or whatever like that, and then as she's talking to him and asking the directions, I'm making my right, I'm taking my left. And I get to the house, she's like, my brother? I'm like, no, I don't know your brother. I just was listening to I was just listening because I didn't want to like park and then have her but it was just amazing to hear because my mom's an English teacher and she studies language and whatever. And she once heard at a symposium that because the Tongan language is one of the oldest Austronesian languages, like it's one of the languages that is like probably like the prototype of Pacific Island language.
Wow.
So when we look at and this is funny because I feel like a white person that went to Mexico and now I know all about I feel like a white person that went to Mexico and I have now I know everything about Mexican culture, Spanish culture, but yeah, I'm cringing right now because my head is saying because I can only say this in Tongan, I'm thinking in Tongan, I kakato, of the language, that the fullness of the language is of different Polynesian languages, you can hear it in Tongan language. Mm-hmm. So I can translate, so even now with Maori languages trying to make a resurgence back into their culture, I can hear how I can translate. So, yeah, and so some words of course don't line up, but the majority of the context of the language, because I understand Tongan language in a certain way, and there's sometimes where I only think in Tongan, I know it sounds like I just came from my vacation from Tulum and now I know everything about whatever. But yeah, you have to I think that's the one thing is when you is trying to learn how to only think in the language that you're learning. So then that way you can speak it better. Because when you revert back to trying to learn translate it from English, then you're literal. Because I hear some people, because in one of the introductions in the class, one of the students, I could see where they're trying to go to, but they literally translated each and every single word for just this one thought, whatever in Tongan, and so yeah, it's a very complex, but I think the real intimidation is just how it sounds coming from you, because I will be in the car going to a funeral or going to a family function, I will sit there and speak in Tongan to myself, just so I can
practicing.
Now, how, whatever, and then I find myself because I have an ultra masculine family, so I find myself sounding like a gossipy woman when I should be sounding like a dirty cement man, yate man, I should be talking like that, ew. Now I'll like that, that's how I have to talk like that. Ew, and then my voice is down here. But when I want to talk, but I really want to talk, yes, girl, oh yeah, those are the things that I want to my brain. So it's wrapping my voice around my own Tongan language and what that really sounds like to me, for me to feel like I'm actually speaking Tongan, because Yeah, because the minute if I only speak it in my regular, oh my gosh, it's like I was a Tongan man, a white man that married someone from my mission that I stole from Tonga, brought here, and we live up in Weber. Like,
He has a whole story.
yeah, I have a whole story
like.
of everything. Yeah. So I mean, yeah. So that's why I wish I could come to every single class, like every single one, because
We do too.
yeah, because the learning.
That's
Because
so
the
The
learning.
energy he brings to the class. So I'm
Because
just
the
like,
learning
take
of
it
like
away.
just whatever,
Amazing.
and I have former students that are in that class too. So it's amazing to see people wanting to learn. I mean, even my little cousin, him wanting to learn Tongan. Both parents are Tongan, but like my mom and her sisters have kind of like failed to, not failed in the sense of whatever, but it's just because I understand now. I understand why the Tongan language, why language in American society, why it's not being taught. It's not because they chose not to. It's the fact that they came here, were thrusted into American culture, had to learn how to do things, and then they had to learn, because even some people I've heard that they didn't want to speak Tongan because they were trying to learn English so much, and they were learning English from their kids. Their kids would go to school, learn English, come back, and they would teach them how to speak English, because if they were working somewhere, and they can't just say like, Martha, can you pass me the pencil? Now it's like, Martha, can you pass me the pencil? Because now she's practiced with her kids, So I get it. So language is it's such a big thing, and I feel like we do need more opportunities to teach the language, and I love that you have this part of, especially with the University of Utah and all the schools here, like to still be able to have something that gives to our community, and even the kids and even the students that go to your class, like I think that appreciation, but also just having this thing that's there that people can learn and have a resource, because we have limited resources when it comes to our Tongan language. So yeah, I'm gonna speak Tongan all the way home.
Yes.
All
Me
the way
too,
home.
in my car, because then no one can correct
And by
me
the way,
'cause it's
guys,
all wrong.
Google Translate also allows Tongan now.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
kind of spotty.
It's
sometimes.
spotty, but
It'll get you by?
before it was only Maori, Hawaiian,
Wow.
and Samoan. Now, Google Translate, guys, if you want to learn,
Wow.
if you want to get that hot guy at the
Actually,
mix,
I should tell my brother that. They're going
Google
to Tonga, so
Translate.
that's good.
Google Translate, guys, for your needs on picking up somebody that you normally wouldn't have picked up.
Right.
I mean, but yeah, it's there. The tool is there. Just in case you guys were wondering, I just discovered that because I use Google Translate all the time.
Google's been listening to you when you speak in Tongan.
I know. I mean, I have like Arabic language because working at the airport, like I'm like
You
trans.
just listen
because
to everybody.
well, it's not even that. It's because people think that I am something else.
Yeah.
Like people like
I can see how you can pass
like
as
they
a lot of
think that
different
Spanish. Like I even have to use like Chinese. I don't know how I look Chinese. Like I know
biggest
Japanese.
Chinese guy
I know
I've ever
Japanese because I look like a geisha, whatever. But,
Oh, yeah.
But the thing too is like about this Tongan class. I didn't even know. I met Gary and I didn't even know that he was Tongan.
Yeah, that's when he first came in. We were like, so, are you half? And
Yeah,
we thought he was Spanish.
I mean, I thought, yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
And then when he introduced himself, and I was like, oh my gosh. And the thing that I loved about that was because I was like, oh, you know what? This is somebody who is actually wanting to be more proactive in learning their language. Because, I have to shout out all of my Hafgasi, like, friends and family. I know you guys get the brunt end of a lot of things when it comes to our culture, but I see you, and I'm so glad that Gary's here, because when you like, I was so happy. I was really happy that you were learning our language, and so it was really cool to like sit in that class and hear you like introducing yourself in your your dad's native tongue, So that's what I love about this course, and I love being a participant and an advisor because it allows me to like pick what Tongan voice I will have in the future. I want to be more diplomatic and be more like, yeah, like, but no, I can't, guys, because I'm gonna get canceled. I'm gonna get dragged. I will be dragged all the way to Glendale before I even get in my car to go to Glendale. So I will when I'm better. I promise you guys. Yeah.
So Gary, how does that feel for you though? Now that you're in the class, you've started learning the language.
Yeah.
Do you have a deeper appreciation for your Tongan side?
Absolutely. Like part of it is just getting any kind of access to it, because there's a lot of like searching online. It's hard to search for any like Tongan books at all because you just come up with some textbooks that come up often, and those are usually like geared towards like missionaries learning the language or that kind of thing, which are valuable, but it's hard to find anything deeper. Like it took me probably a month even just to track down some music. You know, I found out, oh, Queen Salote was a poet and a songwriter. Okay, I'll look for her songs, and then I found a bunch of albums for it. Okay, awesome. And now I just play those songs over and over to practice my pronunciation, learn different words, and like those kinds of elements. And then being able to just search for like PacifikaChptr, so I can just listen to a whole long speech. You know,
So just
like,
listening to it, however it is.
Even
but you
reading-
need those
Start picking
keywords
Even
in order
reading
to
the
find
scriptures
them
in
in the
Tongan.
first place. You know, and so
Read the
Yeah,
scriptures in
Kolopoki,
Tongan.
right?
Yeah.
Or, that's how we did it?
Yeah, if you read the scriptures in Tongan, like, and it's good practice because you know you're reading it to yourself, like read the Bible, like, but then it generates a new person. Now I'm a Paifika now.
Well, it's interesting too because like there's so few texts. We were just talking about this the other day. There's so few texts in Tongan because Tongan is primarily an oral language, and so you have the tohitapu and maybe a few little small stories around. I was lucky enough that I found a Tongan translation of Alice in Wonderland.
Wow.
Which is really valuable in a lot of interesting ways, just because it's different speaking than the tohitapu, but it's also like Tongan translated English speak, so like classic English. Like, now, Dinah, please don't do that. Like no Tongan speaking like that exactly, and so you have to kind of find the middle zones. But that text has been really valuable for me. Like I found just a plain text version of the Bible, and I write different scripts. I'm a IT kind of person, and so I scrape through the Bible to find all of the most used words in there, and then to the hoku eku kind of element, I found all of the words that are possessed in there, and found out this one is usually eku, hoku, that kind of thing, and finding exceptions to those rules and stuff. And so I'm very much a self-starter person, but I recognize a lot of people aren't like that, and that's kind of where Teuila and I connect a lot. Is like we want to help people get more access to this language because it's really hard unless you have someone who speaks it in the room with you to learn the specifics.
Yeah, because like there's dictionaries out there, and of course whatever there's ways, but like you're teaching Tongan to Tongan, like Tongan thinking, Tongan speaking, but I think what's very needed and necessary for here living in the States is how do you detangle someone's American translation to Tongan translation? And I think that's the curriculum that needs to be built is how do I take your American thinking, and because there's other people out there that are learning from Japanese to Tongan, other languages. So how do you get them to not think in this way? To be able to, to learn. And I feel people who already speak languages probably have a better grip on it than those who are speaking just English into Tongan. So I think it's very vital and just very necessary for our people to like have these resources. That's why, that's why I'm like in support. Anytime I'm like pushing things in. But so I think we are going to break. No,
we're going to be wrapping
we're going to be wrapping up. Sorry. Again, I'm brand new. This is why Lynn is here. And when Lynn is here, I'm at home or at work.
So just wrapping up, Teuila, is there any phrase or word that you like teaching your students? Give us something that we can learn with you. Don't test me because I'm going to fail, but something that you that you like teaching, a phrase or a word or anything that you...
Oh, yeah. So at the beginning of my class, I have my students do a 1-minute introduction, and they have to incorporate past lessons in their introduction. But it always begins with maloelele kohokuhingoa. You're always involved in a conversation. So you always introduce yourself, maloelele kohokuhingoa. Hello, my name is. And then I have them, one of the first things I teach them is tenses. Past, present, and future tense. Once I teach them that, they have to introduce themselves or with something that includes all 3 tenses. So once they get familiar with that, then we start adding additional information in their introduction that includes past lessons. And I think that has been very effective in breaking the ice and having them learn the language. But as far as a phrase, maloelele, kohokuhingoa, ko Teuila, na aku tupuhake I Soleiki, o kuo whai ako he University of Utah, pea ko whakamalo ki he whaingamalia o ko mao ke haoi ki he podcast ko ni o ki tokoni he lea whakatonga. Malo.
I can't say anything to me. Malo.
Malo.
And do you guys want to leave us with a thought? Yeah, Gary, do you want to leave us with a Tongan introduction?
Oh, sure. Malo alele, ko hoku hingoa ko Keuli. O na aku tupuhake I he Taylorsville, Utah. Ko eku Tamai, ko Arnold Hansen, ko eku Fae, ko Christine Hansen. O kuo saia ke ako he hiva, lea whakatonga. O kuo whakawhetai kia Teuila mo he ene kalasi.
Malo.
Thank you. And any final thoughts from our wonderful co-host?
If you can speak Tongan, if you can speak whatever language that you is your heritage, I think you should. I would like to do that, but then right now I would be running for a pageant, so I'm not going to. But I want to say malo, malo and whakawhetai to the Everyday People podcast here in Utah for having the space to be able to speak on everyday people. Like, I was so happy to see Teuila was on. That's why I came in my full regalia, because I came because one, it's also my sign of respect to the work that she does and to also her student in learning our Tongan language. And so, yeah, thank you so much I'm happy I got to see you because I missed you in the last class. So now I got to see you and I got to be here with you and all of you out there. Thank you so much. Malo Alpito for being with us today. Malo Alpito.
Thank you guys. Everybody have a great weekend. We'll see you later. Oh my gosh, thank you.
Siu aku e ka te usi